TIFU by eating shrooms at high elevation. This happened a few days ago, but I'm just getting a chance to write about it. So my friend and I were in Colorado and decided it would be cool to eat some shrooms and go to Rocky Mountain National Park on a beautiful sunny day. We had to fly out later that evening, so we got an early start. Grabbed some breakfast sandwiches about 9 and we were gonna make shroom tea. But just decided to eat them straight to make it easier. Now, I'm pretty experienced at this, though she isn't, so I knew how to dose us properly. At sea level. But we were already at about 7,500 feet above sea level. Mistake number 1. Anyway, so I realize as we're eating them, on an empty stomach BTW, that I had actually brought enough for 3 doses. So we've got extra. However, I really didn't want to fly back with them, and our last trip on these same shrooms had been pretty mild. I remind her of this and she says, "Fuck it. Let's just finish them off." Mistake number 2. So we've got roughly an hour to get into the park, find a nice place to sit and trip and look at beautiful things and eat our breakfast, and then time to come down before leaving to go catch our flight. Solid plan, right? So we enter the national park and we're driving further up into the mountains when the shrooms start to hit early and very hard. So I quickly find a place to park, and there's a cool little ridge we can walk out onto to get a great view of the valley. Not a steep or sheer ridge, but a good vantage point. So we decide to make the roughly 200-yard walk over. Mistake number 3. Now, I've been drunk and high in the mountains before, so I should know about doses and altitude and AMs. But we'd already been there a day, and I was so excited about shrooms in a national park that it completely slipped my mind. By the time we'd walked to the overlook, we are both realizing how hard we're tripping. Total disassociation. The world is a watercolor painting and we're floating in it. Our stomachs feel weird, heads feel light, and we're out of breath. Most intense body high I've ever had. So we have a sit down and actually enjoy the view. But at this point we're both like, I want this to end. And I love shrooms. So for me to be like, I'm over this shit, is a strong indication of how intense it was. Luckily, my experience, both with shrooms and elevation, finally kicks in, and I work to keep us calm and positive and suggest we walk slowly back to the car. It's a tough walk though. In our state, took way longer than it needed to, and we couldn't see the car, so I'm worried about getting lost. Now, I'm also worried about bears and mountain lions and moose as well, and every movement of a bird or leaf is freaking me out. But it's just in my head. Stay calm and don't freak her out. At one point she snaps a picture of a bright green moving bush. We looked later. It was just a plain-ass brownish-green shrub. She says, I just took my hand out of my pocket and it doesn't feel or look like it's attached to me. Just keep walking, I say. She's tripping hard. So am I. My feet don't feel attached. I'm somehow floating and stumbling simultaneously. There's no cell reception, and I realize we aren't getting better until we get below 8,000 feet. It's not just the drugs. So we get to the car and the urge to just sit there and nap is strong. And I know I'm not in the best shape to drive. But we have to descend. We have to. Napping is not a good idea. So we wait for 0 cars and start moving at a snail's pace down the mountain. 4 eyes on the road. 5 miles per hour. Complete focus. Pulling into turnouts regularly and whenever there's any other car on the road. After about 15 to 20 minutes we start feeling better. Time and elevation are finally starting to work for us. So we pull off and give ourselves some time to come down some more before going further and eat. Finally. Anyway, by the time we get back to Estes Park, were much better, and I realized the mistake we made. I'm actually not really sure how much danger we were in. From a health standpoint, it's hard to tell because there was certainly a ton of shroomy anxiety at play too. But please learn from our fuck up and be super careful about shrooms at high elevation. Really. Any drugs for that matter. Cheers. TLD or got super trippy and got elevation sickness. 10 out of 10 would not recommend. One of the very few posts on this sub I sat there and read with real interest. On another note, glad it worked out for you. Yo. I'm all for recreational party helpers. But you gotta use your head here op. 1. RMNP is a 2-hour from Denver Airport. Without traffic. And you have to be there early. So unless you had like a 10 p.m. flight, you were going to be driving under the influence back to the airport. Taking a dose and a half almost guaranteed you a plus 6 to 8 hour shroom trip. Even at sea level. 2. If you were an hour from the park, you should have taken your dose closer to the park or as you drove in. 3. Why would you get in the car at peak trip? After saying this was the most intense body high you ever had. Come on, man. 4. There is nothing wrong with napping. Set a damn alarm and watch clouds for a few hours. Got high while high. What does altitude have to do with the high? Is it only a shrooms thing? Planning to have to drive. Period. Let alone in the mountains. Is really an unnecessary risk to yourselves and other drivers. I love tripping myself, but operating heavy machinery under that influence is so dangerous. And to have to make a flight? Y'all crazy. Irresponsible is an understatement. Sorry you had that experience, and I hope it serves as a valuable lesson. If there's anyone here interested in doing shrooms, don't be like this guy. Get a sitter, watcher, trip guide with someone you trust. Know what you're eating. How much can you handle? Weighing is a good JDEA. What kind of psychedelic is it? Also bring snacks and water. Don't trip in public. Lots of stuff can go wrong. Just hang at the house. Don't drive a car. Don't operate anything with a motor. Not even household appliances. Not even a dryer. Especially not a blender. Just don't. Don't have anywhere to be. Take the day off. No work. No big family visit. No friggin' 320 miles per hour 30k feet plane ride. Don't trip in public. Make sure your sitter has no plans also. You were driving while fucked up and could have seriously hurt, killed yourself or someone else. Those roads are steep as fuck. I hope that you learned from your mistake, but that was manslaughter levels of irresponsibly. This is similar to posting, I got too drunk to drive but did it anyway. Lol. Quote. Hi. As a Coloradan, I'd appreciate it if you'd stay the fuck out of our state until you gain some common sense. There are many of us who put a lot of time, effort, and money into decriminalizing recreational drugs here. And your lack of consideration is very insulting. This kind of behavior is harming, not helping, our cause. That wasn't elevation sickness. You were just tripping too hard and having anxiety about it. The only danger was the danger you put yourself and others in by driving while tripping hard. We've all made awful mistakes while fucked up, but it's a bit worrying that you don't really seem to understand how bad that was. Empty stomach was mistake number 1. I stopped reading after you said you did shrooms on the day you were flying. Solid plan, right? No, it wasn't. Empty stomach. Eat shrooms on a day you have plans. Let alone a plane ride. Are you sure you've done this before? I would be surprised if altitude has anything to do with the potency of psilocybin at all. I've traveled to CO and tripped, and it's no different than sitting on the beach at home. Also, don't be an idiot when doing drugs. You give us all a bad name. I lived at 900 feet in Oregon and would drive to 5,000 feet and eat shrooms or acid and hike to 9,500 feet. Feels the same to me. OMG op. You're so nonchalant about driving under influence. Please don't do it again. On the other note, I've been wanting to try mushrooms, and somewhere beautiful like that seems like a great idea. You seem contrite about overdoing it on the shrooms under those conditions. But the driving up and down the mountain while under the influence is really uncool. It's great you took precautions and went slow and all. But this was an irresponsible plan. That is not how altitude sickness works, and you're a reckless asshole for driving in that condition. What the fuck were you thinking? Yeah, this whole thing start to finish is a disaster. The fact you dosed and then hoped behind the wheel of a car to go to an area where if either of you managed to hurt yourself, there was no way to call for help or to have a sober person get you down this mountain. Also, you said you know what you're doing with doses, but you straight up admit you don't know how to dose based on weight, and you just eyeball the number of shrooms you were eating. Please never take psychedelics again. Your ignorance of what you think you know is going to get innocent people hurt or killed. You drove. TLDR. Op is extremely selfish and doesn't care about anyone but himself. This is insane and could have been fatal. Op is an idiot and should be in jail.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.